label me in that moment of weakness, and that's not fair, you know? So after all of that, I was like, you know what? I'm so happy that I was blessed with this guy who allows me to bask in my femininity, you know what I mean? Allows me to be soft. You know what? He takes the wheel. Usually I'm a control freak. I'll let him do everything, you know? I said I want to go to Europe. We was in Europe. I want to be a model. I was in 2 shoots, you know what I mean? Like, the support that I have from this guy is unreal. So it allows me to be the soft woman that I've always wanted to be. So
just mind your business for the 50 millionth time. You're not hilarious, you're not funny, you're not a good radio host. Just go fade into oblivion or something.
Y'all, the Love Island streets are on fire, and Jess Hilarious just lit the match. Out of nowhere, she decided to throw shade at Nicolandria's love story. And baby, it backfired so hard she had to delete her own words just to escape the flames. What was supposed to be a little side-eye about phony love turned into a full-on dragging session, with Nicolandria's fans riding out like soldiers. And trust me, the clapbacks were so vicious, you'd think Jess started beef with an entire army instead of one couple. So let's break down how this sweet love story turned into one of the messiest feuds on the internet. Jess Hilarious really thought she was doing something, but instead she just set herself on fire in public. One little comment, one little shady swipe at Nicolandria's relationship, and the internet said, "Oh no, ma'am. Not today." What Jess thought would be a quick laugh or a slick read turned into one of the worst backlashes she's faced in a minute. And the gag is, she didn't just get checked by Olandria herself. The entire Nicolandria hive came stomping down on her like she tried to snatch Beyoncé's mic. It all started when the Shade Room reposted a clip of Olandria gushing over Nick during her Watch What Happens live interview with Andy Cohen. It was sweet, it was romantic, it was one of those moments where fans couldn't help but smile because, honestly, don't we all love love? But instead of leaving it alone like everybody else, Jess decided to play body language detective, claiming the whole thing looked fake, like some stage performance for clout. She zeroed in on Nick, not making direct eye contact with Olandria while she was pouring her heart out, and baby, she ran with it. Jess jumped in the comments talking about, "This is laughable. It's so phony. One day, she'll find her real love. Someone who actually looks her in the eyes the way she deserves." Y'all, she didn't just shade Nick. She practically called Olandria delusional to her face. Like imagine watching a woman glow about her man on national TV, and you decide, "Nah sis, he's not the one, he's just acting." Jess wrote a whole paragraph trying to discredit their relationship, like she was submitting it to the Phony Love Awards. But here's where Jess messed up. She underestimated the fact that Nicolandria has one of the loudest, most loyal fan bases to come out of Love Island in years. This isn't some casual couple that people forgot about after the cameras stopped rolling. Their fans have been riding hard for them, reposting every trip, every brand deal, every soft moment. So when Jess came swinging with shade, they swung back 10 times harder. And when I tell you the dragging was immediate, phew, within minutes, fans were lighting up the comment section, calling Jess bitter, miserable, jealous, washed, and every other word in the dictionary. Some said she needed to worry about her own failed relationships before critiquing someone else's. Others flat out told her she wasn't funny, she wasn't relevant, and she needed to log off before embarrassing herself further. And the worst part? Olandria herself clapped back too, and you know when the actual target steps into the chat, it's over. Jess thought she was tossing harmless shade, but she ended up walking straight into a digital beatdown. People were dragging her career, her personal life, even her parenting, saying she had no right to be talking about anybody else's relationship when her own history is messy at best. And what started as a shady comment about phony love turned into Jess getting ethered so badly, she had no choice but to delete the comment and pretend it never happened. Sis tried to vanish like a magician, but screenshots live forever, and now she's trending for all the wrong reasons. So yeah, Jess woke up and chose violence, but the internet chose violence right back. And if she thought this would be a cute little moment of shade that earned her some laughs, she was dead wrong. Because instead of people laughing with her, they were laughing at her, dragging her reputation through the mud like she was the joke of the week. Now, before we get into why Jess's shade hit such a nerve, we gotta rewind and talk about why fans ride for Nicolandria so hard in the first place. Because here's the truth. This relationship didn't just fall into their laps. It was born out of pure Love Island chaos. Twists, heartbreaks, and a whole lot of people doubting whether they'd even make it past Casa More. When season 7 kicked off, let's be real, Nick and Olandria weren't checking for each other at all. Nick had his eyes on Sierra, and Olandria was vibing with Taylor. They both went full in on those connections, and for a minute, it looked like that was going to be the story. But fans were paying close attention, because even while Nick was locked in with Sierra, he kept throwing little hints toward Olandria. Every challenge, every game, every chance he got, Nick would sneak in a compliment, a cheeky flirt, even trying to kiss her during dares. Like, sir, you got a girl already, what are you doing? But that's how bad he wanted her. The gag is, Olandria didn't even clock it at first. She thought he was just being competitive or playing along for the cameras. Meanwhile, Nick was basically auditioning for Boyfriend of the Year every time he got near her. Fans were already whispering like, wait a minute, there's something here. He's not doing that with Sierra. Then boom, the island did what it always does. Taylor ditched Olandria for Clark, leaving her single and vulnerable. At the same time, Sierra's entire storyline blew up when old racist tweets resurfaced online. The girl had a whole backlog of nasty comments about Asian people, and the backlash was so intense, production had no choice but to pack her bags. Just like that, both Nick and Olandria were free agents, and the timing could not have been more messy. Enter the producers, who smelled a storyline like blood in the water. They had already seen the sparks between Nick and Olandria, even if she hadn't caught on yet, and they weren't about to let that chemistry go to waste. So suddenly, the edit shifted. We got more screen time of their conversations, more lingering looks, more accidental moments where they ended up side by side. Fans swear producers were playing puppet master, practically shoving them into each other's arms, like, stop pretending this isn't happening. Y'all are the couple everyone wants to root for. And honestly, it worked. Once Nick and Olandria finally locked in, the whole vibe of the show changed. Instead of being another random pairing, they became the underdog couple people wanted to see win. They weren't the day one favorites. They weren't the obvious power couple. They were the two who had to claw their way through rejection, scandal, and fan skepticism before finding each other. That kind of storyline hits different, and the fans knew it. From there, their connection only got stronger. By the end of the season, they were inseparable, and when the cameras stopped rolling, they actually stayed that way, which, if you know Love Island, is basically a miracle. So every brand deal, every vacation, every sweet moment they've shared since the villa feels like proof that this wasn't just a TV fling. That's why fans go so hard for them. They saw the struggle, the detours, the messy road it took to get here, and that's exactly why Jess's little phony love comments feel like a slap in the face. Because to Nicolandria's supporters, this isn't just some casual couple Jess can clown. This is the couple that beat the odds, survived the Love Island curse, and kept shining even after the camera stopped. That's why fans drag Jess so hard, because she's not just shading Nick and Olandria, she's shading a whole love story that people have been invested in since the jump. So here's where everything really boiled over. Nicolandria had already been thriving post Love Island, but their interview on Watch What Happens Live with Annie Cohen felt like the official stamp that they'd made it as one of reality TV's success stories. This wasn't some casual Instagram live or a brand deal photo shoot. This was a primetime Bravo spotlight where Olandria got the chance to really speak on her relationship. And baby, she didn't hold back. Sitting there glowing, she poured her heart out about Nick in a way that had fans literally cheesing through the screen. She talked about how, for the first time, she felt like she could be soft, feminine, and free because of the way Nick shows up for her. And it wasn't just words. She gave examples. She said, I told him I wanted to go to Europe, and the next thing I know, we're in Europe. I told him I wanted to model, and suddenly I'm on set for not one, but 2 shoots. She described him as someone who actually listens, who delivers on promises, and who supports her dreams in ways she never thought possible. It wasn't just Olandria talking love. It was Olandria talking life-changing partnership. And fans ate it up. Social media flooded with clips, reposts, and reaction tweets. People were saying, this is the kind of support Black women deserve, or you can see the peace radiating off her. That's what real love looks like. For a lot of viewers, it was a wholesome moment, the kind of rare TV interview that makes you root even harder for a couple you already liked. But of course, not everybody saw it that way. While most people were swooning, Jess Hilarious was side-eyeing. Instead of seeing the romance, she zoomed in on what she thought was the tell. Nick not locking eyes with Olandria while she was gushing over him. And y'all know Jess, she doesn't do subtle shade. She jumped right into the comment section like she was a certified relationship expert, basically calling the whole thing an act. Her exact words? This is so laughable that everybody's going along with this phony. One day this girl will be with the real love of her life. Someone who actually looks her in the effing eyes when she's acknowledging him the way she does here. Someone that's going to be speaking about her the way she's speaking about Nick. This is all for the show. Now let's pause here. Think about that. Olandria is sitting on Bravo, publicly praising her man, giving concrete examples of how he's changed her life. And Jess reduces all of that down to he didn't look at her the right way. That's not critique, that's nitpicking. That's looking at a Vogue spread and saying the lighting was off. And the kicker? Jess framed it like she was the only one who could see the truth, as if the rest of the world was blind for swooning over a performance. But instead of coming off wise or insightful, it read as bitter and unnecessarily mean. To fans, it felt like Jess was tearing down a black woman's joy just for the sake of it, taking a wholesome moment and trying to poison it with doubt. And that, right there, was the spark that set everything on fire. Because while Jess thought she was being clever, most people thought she was being cruel. And when you try to drag somebody in the middle of their public glow-up, you better believe their supporters are going to clap back with double the energy. Now let's really break down Jess's shade, because this wasn't just a slick one-liner or a funny roast. No, just pulled out a whole paragraph like she was writing an essay on why Nicolandria is fake 101. And the way she worded it? Phew. Child, it was giving mean girl energy more than anything else. Here's what she actually said. This is so laughable that everybody's going along with this phony. One day this girl will be with the real love of her life. Someone who actually looks into her effing eyes when she's acknowledging him the way she does here. Someone that's going to be speaking about her the way she's speaking about Nick. This is all for the show. Now let's unpack that. First off, she literally called Olandria's moment of gratitude and vulnerability laughable. Then she dismissed Nick as if he's just a placeholder until Olandria finds her real love. And to top it off, she implied their entire relationship is staged, just a performance for cameras. That's not shade. That's a demolition. Jess wasn't poking fun. She was trying to bulldoze the whole love story in one go. And the kicker? She based it all on eye contact. Like, sis, people have built careers, bought houses, and raised kids together without staring into each other's pupils 24/7. But in Jess's world, the lack of a lingering gaze during one interview equals phony love. Fans couldn't believe how nitpicky she was being. One person even said, eye contact doesn't get you Vogue spread, sis. It doesn't fly you to Europe. Another pointed out that Nick literally moved mountains for Olandria, but Jess reduced it to a glance, or lack thereof. Now to be fair, some folks didn't completely disagree with Jess, but for a different reason. They weren't attacking Nicolandria specifically, they were scarred by history. And history on Love Island? Baby, it's messy. Time and time again, we've seen couples use each other for clout, money, or brand deals, only to implode once the cameras stop rolling. Take Kenny and Jana, for example. For over a year, Jana thought she was in a solid, loving relationship. Fans thought they were couple goals, until the receipts dropped. Kenny was exposed in text messages, clowning her behind her back, using racial slurs, and admitting he was only with her for business opportunities. He wasn't even into black women. He was into the brand deals. That breakup was ugly, and it left a lot of fans feeling burned for ever rooting for them. Then there was Whitney and Logan, another so-called love story that fell apart in the worst way. Logan's own mother was caught making racist remarks, and Logan himself allegedly joked about Whitney's skin being dirty. On top of that, he constantly belittled her looks and counted her money, treating her more like a paycheck than a partner. Once all that came out, fans realized he was just another dude clout chasing off a black woman while dragging her down behind the scenes. So yeah, Some people saw Jess's comment and thought, here we go again. Nicolandria might just be the next version of that story. They weren't rooting for Jess, but they were definitely side-eyeing Nick just out of pure Love Island trauma. But here's the difference. With Kenny and Jana, or Whitney and Logan, the red flags were flying loud and clear. With Nick and Olandria, fans haven't seen those signs. If anything, they've seen consistency, trips, campaigns, genuine chemistry that's lasted long after the camera stopped rolling. So for Jess to lump them into the same box as all the fraud couples before them felt unfair. It was like she was reaching for a scandal that just wasn't there. And that's why her comment exploded the way it did. Instead of being taken as a playful observation, it came across as bitter, baseless, and unnecessarily cruel. She wasn't just critiquing, she was projecting. And that's the moment the internet decided to flip the script on Jess and turn her shade into her own humiliation. And baby, the internet wasted in no time snatching Jess by the edges. 1 second she was hitting post, the next she was trending for all the wrong reasons. Fans did not just clap back, they dogpiled. They dissected every word of her shade, dragged her intentions, and started throwing her own messy past right back in her face. One user tweeted, Jess Hilarious calling Nicolandria's love phony is the funniest thing I've seen all week. Girl, didn't you just recycle your ex's boyfriend 2 seasons ago? Worry about your own storyline. Another wrote, Jess out here diagnosing eye contact like she got a PhD in body language. Meanwhile, she couldn't even read the red flags in her last 3 relationships. Projection at its finest. And then there was the quote tweet that went viral with over 20,000 likes. Jess really thought she ate, but forgot she's the one who got played on camera. Ma'am, sit this one out. Fans were dragging her for filth. Not just for being negative, but for being hypocritical. Because let's be real, Jess's own dating history is a highlight reel of embarrassing situationships. The internet reminded her, loud and clear, that she once publicly fought over a man who wasn't even claiming her, and then tried to spin it like she won. People were like, sis, if anyone knows about phony love, it's you. Some of the clapbacks got downright brutal. How you clowning eye contact when half your relationships didn't even last a season? Nicolandria got Vogue spreads and brand deals. Jess got deleted tweets and bad wigs. Funny how the loudest critic is always the one crying in their car at 2 a.m. Ouch. But it didn't stop at her personal life. Fans also came for her career. One person wrote, Jess should be careful. These comments are giving bitter Annie energy. Keep it up and you'll be hosting IG Lives with 12 viewers instead of booking shows. Another chimed in, this is why she can't cross over into mainstream. Too busy tearing down other black women instead of supporting them. What really sealed, it was the way Nicolandria's supporters mobilized. They came out swinging like an army, flooding her comments with nothing but smoke. People were spamming clowns, laughing emojis, even dropping old clips of Jess's failed stand-up routines as proof she was just jealous. And once Olandria herself threw that little clapback, calling Jess the definition of bitter, it was over. That line was reposted everywhere, basically the final nail in the coffin. The message was loud and clear. Jess might have thought she was just throwing shade at one couple, but what she really did was declare war on an entire fandom. And trust me, that's a war she wasn't ready for. Now here's where things get really interesting, because when you zoom out, this was never just about Jess versus Nicolandria. What her comments touched on, whether she realized it or not, is a bigger pattern that we've seen play out on Love Island for years. Let's be real. Whenever a black woman couples up with a non-black man on this franchise, there's almost always an extra layer of skepticism attached. People start questioning motives, body language, chemistry, nitpicking in a way that doesn't happen when it's, say, a white couple or even a white woman paired with a black man. It's like the relationship has to be proven real in ways others don't. And that double standard has been clocked by fans for seasons. Why? Because there's history here. We've seen plenty of messy, clout-chasing couples come through Love Island and flame out the second the cameras stop rolling. Remember Kenny and Jana? They sold this big fairy tale in the villa, did the whole couple goals tour for Instagram, And then 2 months later, they were outed for staging photo ops while secretly dating other people. Or Whitney and Logan. They literally milked their showmans for every podcast and brand deal possible, then admitted in separate interviews that they weren't even into each other like that. The kind of fakery has trained fans to look at everything with suspicion. But here's the difference. Nicolandria isn't giving clout chase. It's giving stability. It's giving green flags. The receipts line up. Olandria's career has actually grown. She's booking campaigns, traveling, stepping into rooms she once dreamed about. And Nick is visibly present, supportive, showing up right there beside her. When she gushes about him, it doesn't feel like a performance. It feels like gratitude. And that's why fans were so quick to defend them. Because this isn't just about protecting Nick and Olandria as a couple. This is about defending what they represent. For a lot of viewers, especially black women who've watched this show for years, Nicolandria symbolizes something refreshing. A black woman being loved openly, supported fully, and thriving in a relationship that isn't rooted in trauma or struggle. That's powerful because we don't always see it. Too often, the narrative has been that black women on Love Island get left behind, overlooked, or only pursued when someone runs out of options. So when Jess comes along with this nitpicky no eye contact shade, it doesn't just read as petty, it reads as part of that bigger culture of doubt. It plays into the idea that a black woman's happiness can't possibly be real, that her man must not really be into her, that she's bound to be faking it for attention. And that's why the backlash hits so hard. Fans weren't just defending Olandria. They were defending the right of black women to finally be seen, celebrated, and believed when they say they've found love. In that way, Jess miscalculated big time. Her shade wasn't just mean, it was triggering. It poked at a wound fans have been watching get reopened season after season. And instead of looking sharp or funny, it made her look like she was dragging down progress. And just like that, Jess waved the white flag. After days of getting cooked alive across Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, people noticed her quietly deleting the comments that started the whole mess. No apology, no explanation, just poof, gone. But by then, the internet had already screenshot, reposted, and stitched it into infinity. The damage was done. For a lot of fans, the deletion felt like confirmation that Jess knew she'd stepped out of line. One tweet summed it up perfectly. Deleting the comments don't erase the energy you put out, babe. We saw it. The internet never forgets. Another added, this wasn't shade, this was sabotage. And she fumbled it. But here's the kicker. Just when it seemed like the storm was dying down, people started whispering about Sierra. Yes, that's Sierra, Nick's former flame who already had her own messy entanglements in the villa. Some fans think she's sitting on her hands waiting for the perfect moment to stir the pot, maybe even siding with Jess to validate the shade. And if Sierra jumps in, oh baby, that's not just tea, that's a whole pot boiling over. Because what started as a petty dig could easily spiral into a multi-front war, exes, rivalries, fandoms colliding all over again. And knowing how Love Island alumni love a little clout, you just know someone's itching to grab the mic. But here's the real question. Was this just messy shade gone wrong? Or is the internet actually drawing new boundaries around what's fair game when it comes to criticizing black women's relationships? Because the clapback this time didn't just defend Nick and Olandria. It defended the idea that black women can finally get celebrated on this franchise without having their love dismissed as fake or performative. That's bigger than petty drama. That's a shift. So now the stage is set. Jess may have tapped out, but will Sierra jump in and reignite the fire? Will Nicolandria keep thriving while their haters eat dust? And more importantly, are we witnessing the internet in real time rewriting the rules of how far you can go when you come for a black woman's happiness? Stay tuned, because if this week has proven anything, it's that shade doesn't always land where you think. Sometimes it blows up right back in your face.